Hi, I'm Kelvin.
And I'm Eddie.
Welcome to the Cadence Culture Dialogue. It's a dialogue about how we can be culture builders at our workplaces. The previous dialogue was about the quality of conversations, so do check it out if you've missed it.
Today's dialogue is about psychological safety. Please share with us your questions, perspectives, and comments.
Eddie, let me begin with the question. Everyone is familiar with physical safety at work, but what is psychological safety?
A quick story. In 2012, Google started Project Aristotle to uncover what makes a team effective. They spent 2 years studying 180 teams. After 2 years, they revealed 5 key factors that makes a team effective. And the underpinning factor, the most important one, is psychological safety.
That's when the whole corporate world started paying attention to psychological safety, and everyone was trying to figure out what it means. So Eddie, define for us psychological safety.
Here, I would reference Dr. Amy Edmondson. She is a Harvard professor who has been credited with coining the term psychological safety. Psychological safety is the experience of feeling safe to take interpersonal risks with others. It would be in expressing ideas, asking questions, seeking help, sharing diverse views, admitting mistakes, holding each other accountable, etc. It is not just taking interpersonal risks with the one or two colleagues who we have a strong trusting relationship, but more of a psychologically safe environment where people generally feel safe enough to be open and candid.
Wow. And I'm a big fan of Dr. Amy Edmondson's work. Over the last 2 decades, she has curated and showcased many examples of different teams and organizations, those with weak psychological safety and those with strong psychological safety. And the difference is had on the organizations is like night and day. Those with strong psychological safety are learning organizations where there's a lot of business and people growth, where there's innovation at all levels, where there's strong teaming, and where they're attracting top talent. But those with weak psychological safety have declined or even died.
Kevin, can you share with us a business example?
Well, I've spent 17 years in the telecoms business, so let me share a telecoms example. Many of us may have owned a Nokia phone in the past, or at least heard of them. But their decline and disappearance was largely contributed by a fearful and emotional climate within the organization, where their people were too afraid to speak up about the threats coming from Apple and Google on their smartphone development. So when Apple and Google launched their smart devices, Nokia suffered a huge market share loss, and they lost more than 2 billion euros.
Wow.
And that led to them in 2013 to sell their devices and services platform to Microsoft.
From number one market leader to selling their business.
Yeah. Eddie, based on your experience, what is preventing leaders from creating psychological safety at work?
Nobody's intention is to erode psychological safety. However, the reality is our intentions are often not aligned with our behaviors. And we are not aware of it. I've fallen for this trap in the past. As a passionate and experienced consultant, I'm quick to provide solution in any discussion. And I would communicate in a passionate tone. What I didn't know is that my behaviors is perceived as strong and not open to others' ideas. Thankfully, one of my trusted colleagues provided me with feedback that helped me raise my awareness and gave me the opportunity to change my behavior. This has led me to realize that the first step to build psychological safety is having awareness of how others perceive our actions.
Great. Thank you, Eddie, for sharing. How do you gain greater awareness, in relation to psychological safety?
One way is to create feedback cadence with one another at work, to regularly seek feedback from others about how they think and felt about the way we did things. For example, how do you feel about the way I communicate in the meeting? Or how do you feel about me contributing to this discussion? When we invite feedback and are genuinely interested to hear others' input and respond positively to the feedback with gratitude, people will realize how open we are and feel safe to speak their mind with us.
Wow, that's great. Feedback cadence. I think that's something that every one of us needs. I also remember that there are clients who have benefited from a fearless organization scan. This is a scan that is based on the research from Dr. Amy Edmondson. And together with the scan results and a facilitated conversation, teams can actually gather to discuss and strengthen the areas of psychological safety.
Kevin, what are common pitfalls when leaders are building psychological safety at work?
Well, one pitfall that I've fallen into is about waiting for psychological safety to be perfect before we speak up, to feel very safe before we're able to say something, and even to blame others for the lack of psychological safety when I have failed or when we have failed to take responsibility, to speak up and take action. And so to avoid this pitfall, there is a need to complement the building of psychological safety with the courage to speak up. And this has been a growth area for me personally, where I've had to take responsibility to speak up even when I didn't feel very safe. But to do that, I needed to remind myself of the importance of why I was speaking up and what was I speaking up for, and how that was more important than the risk of the safety. And at the same time, to realize that the rejection from others when I spoke up did not diminish who I am as a person, to be secure in my identity.
Wow, I think it's so important to be secure with our identity.
That's right.
And fostering a culture of psychological safety is crucial to unlocking the full potential of a team. We continue to collect best practices for leaders to cultivate psychological safety at work, and we would love to share them with you. Come journey with us at Friends of Cadence Culture. Click on the link below to find out more.
Yes, we would love to have you join us as Friends of Cadence Culture. And do look out for our next Cadence Culture Dialogue. See you soon.
Goodbye.